Hawkmoon is the newest hand cannon in Destiny 2, but one of the oldest hand cannons in Destiny as a whole. From what I can gather, this hand cannon held a special place in D1 hearts. In D1 it had the perk Lucky Aces, which randomly slotted in a random round that did bonus damage, which I believe could one-tap Guardians in Crucible. It has been reworked in Destiny 2, with the element of chance taking a backseat, and a tiered damage perk has been added instead. The perk is called Paracusal Shot. Honor blows and precision hits with Hawkmoon grant stacks of Paracusal Charge. The final round in the magazine deals bonus damage based on the number of stacks. This stacks up to 7, and the bonus damage is insane. This really puts the damage output of this weapon in your hands and removes the random element of the weapon. Not as exciting as its D1 variant, but we can work at this. We can make a few builds with this weapon, and with that, let's dive into it. Let's go. The damage boost is high. It is ridiculous how much damage this gun can do, but we can do a few things to increase these damage values just a bit more. We looked at 3 options. The first being using Charged Light and using the damage buff from the mod High Energy Fire. Since we are using Hawkmoon, the Precision Charge mod will be the primary way we generate charges with light. The second was using the Berserker mod from the seasonal artifact, which when your super ends, you gain a temporary boost to weapon damage. The duration and strength of this bonus increases based on the number of combatants you defeated with your super. Lastly, we use Whispers of Hedron Fragment, which gives you a bonus to weapon damage after freezing a target with stasis. Spoiler alert, we use this for the build. The setup in order to get the boost on top of the boost is important. That is why using the Berserker mod is the least desirable option. You need to set up the charges on the gun, then get your super ready, defeat enough enemies with it, and then land the final shot. This is definitely the more complicated setup of the 3, plus the damage numbers are not the highest you can actually get. The base damage generated by Hawkmoon with 7 charges and no other buffs is 51,292. All 3 options increase this damage, but the highest is using the Whispers of Hedron Fragment, which increases the damage by 25% to 64,115. Fortunately, getting this buff is pretty easy. We just need to freeze the chap and we're good to go. With that figured out, we now need to figure out ways to freeze enemies as often as possible. With the Stasis subclass, use all 3 abilities to slow and freeze everyone. The dodge ability with the Fragment Winter's Shroud slows enemies close to you. The Stasis melee Withering Blade slows and then freezes enemies. And then we have the Grenade and Super, so we need to try and ensure we have these up and ready at the start of each engagement. We chose Frosties for this build since it increases grenade melee and dodge regeneration while sprinting. We also have a couple of Charged Light mods in the build. The first is the Firepower mod, which gives you a portion of your grenade energy when you use your grenade. The second mod is the Heavy Handed mod, which gives you half of your melee energy when you use your charged melee ability. We also make use of the Gambler's Dodge, which gives you your melee back if you dodge near enemies. The way this build works is you basically freeze enemies and shoot hit spots. Yeah, video over. Please like, share and subscribe. You want to ensure the damage boost from Whispers of Hedron is up for the duration of the encounter, and so we need to consistently have the ability to freeze enemies as much as possible. Charges are generated mainly from Precision Charge mod, which are then used by the other mods mentioned above. With this build, you will get the boost to the base weapon damage of Hawkmoon and a boost on top of the damage boost from the Paracusal Charge. I tried this build with the Warlock as well, and it worked really well. I used a modified version of the Claws Aramkara build I did previously, which you can check out in the top right corner. Changing the primary weapon from Monte Carlo to Hawkmoon and switching out the mods gave a build where you have multiple melee charges to freeze enemies and can generate melee and grenade energy fairly quickly, all the while gain a boost to weapon damage and gain an additional boost to damage with the last shot in the chamber. The effectiveness of this weapon and the builds depend on how accurate you are with the hand cannon. I included a targeting mod in the build, as well as the mod that reduces flinching when aiming down sights with the hand cannon. These do make a difference, and I'm able to land crit shots more often than not, averaging about 5 to 6 stacks of paracausal charge. Another thing to note is that the first 6 charges generated by a Hawkmoon are not lost when swapping weapons, but they are lost when reloading the weapon. The final shot is lost when swapping weapons and reloading. As a result, I rarely swap weapons while in combat and generally took cover when reloading the weapon. One last caveat of this build is you tend to disconnect from encounters when you have your final shot lined up, saving it for the strongest enemy in the room. Granted, this is where the damage boost will be most effective, but you do open yourself up to attacks from lesser enemies. Just something to be aware of as you line up your shots. The hand cannon does not work for all scenarios, but it is still pretty fun to use, and I would highly recommend completing the quest and getting it. Hawkmoon in Destiny 2 is still an evolving weapon, with other roles expected in the future which will change up these builds. But for now, I think this build works really well with the weapon. And that's it. Thank you all for checking out this latest build, and especially thank you for making it this far into the video. I hope you all have a pleasant day, and I will chat to you in the next one. Cheers.